Hey guys.
Hi guys.
Welcome back again to Seven Frequenceas.
Yay.
What episode are we on now?
Episode 5.
Episode 5. Literature is what we're calling it, but we may devolve into other areas of conversation. But yeah, in the room we have me, Fredi,
Sanaa,
Charis,
Serena,
and Kit.
and Hyein and Amelie are behind the computer, and we're again in the little room. The very small. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't like that.
No, I'm sorry.
Fredi didn't like that.
Just I'll be silent for the rest of it.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about?
Yeah. I think we kind of wanted to talk about, in terms of literature, how we've connected to it, and it's a bit connected to education as well, like sort of our relationship to literature and how that has maybe like informed our own identities or cultural identities or something like that.
Yeah.
I think when I think of literature in the context of our podcast and like multiculturalism and stuff like that, the first thing I think about is like how, firstly, my ability to read English only limits my reading of literature. And well, of course there's translations, which is a lot more now, but obviously it's like limited in the sense of like what gets translated. Yeah, but I've read some really good translated books. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, it's true, because you don't need to like know another language to like watch a dance or like listen to music or like look at a painting, but like as soon as it's anything written, there's like that big barrier.
And there's also the thing where it's like in so many languages, one text or a dialogue can be translated in so many different ways, and it's therefore defined in a lot of different ways, even though it's technically like said, the same words are said, but then, for example, subtitles, this is not literature, but subtitles are translated. Yeah, I'm sorry guys. Are translated differently, so then it's like how language can affect how other people interpret the same thing.
Figure of the author, you might say.
Didn't take that much.
Well, we had did anyone? You did.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, they talked briefly about translation and like.
We talked about it in Paris, in the Paris module as well, like quite a lot about, because obviously there was some like fluent French speakers on the trip, and so a lot of people I think ended up doing a project where they like translated a text, like their own translation, because every person, especially with like poetry, will have a different translation of poems, like completely different meaning for the same text.
That's really interesting.
And there's such a huge overlap of translation with like censorship and like falsification and stuff. Like, yeah.
That is true.
So what good translated books have you read, Sanaa?
Well, there was one. The issue is I'm gonna mispronounce all of them.
That's so okay.
But there was one I read not that long ago, actually pretty long ago, I just haven't read in a long time. But it was called Welcome to the, I'm gonna search it up, I don't want to say it wrong.
What language was it in originally?
It was in Korean.
It's funny, you come to university to like read more, and then I feel like
I've read
in your own time you kind of I haven't read as many books as I was beforehand.
I used to
Does
love
someone want to say
Japanese
it for me?
Bro. Well, our Korean speaker's outside, but she's here. Would you like to please read the title of this book for us?
I mean, just the name of the...
No, I was just gonna join actually.
Oh,
okay.
I changed my mind.
Oh, Hyein's in the room. Hyein's in the room. Hyein's in the room. Hyein's in the room. Hyein's in the room.
Hey came in.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Hello everyone.
Do you
want to say it here? Welcome to the Hyeonnam-dong bookshop.
Okay, that's so nice. See, I would have never said it like that.
No, really. Oh, I just like sat on something.
No, that was really sweet. I just really liked this book. It was like about this lady who like, I think she's in like mid-30s, I don't know, but she starts a bookshop, and it's been like this lifelong like dream, but her life kind of fell apart, and then after all that she like finally gets to just open this little cozy bookshop, and it's quite insightful and like philosophical in some ways. It's a good read. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
I know it's translated really well, I think, because it sounded really good, but I will never know.
Yeah.
So Hyein, what inspired you to come into the room?
I think you guys were talking about translations, and I was talking about how my first interaction with like Western sort of like English literary classics were actually translated. So when I was younger, my parents had bought like this massive collection of like classics, like literary classics translated in Korean. So like I read Little Women or like Jane Eyre, like Robinson Crusoe, like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, like those kind of books, like all in Korean for the first time ever. So and I low-key like haven't read them again since in English actually. So you know, I feel like I'll probably end up discovering a lot more than I did at the right page of like, I don't know, 9. But yeah, like I don't know how much of an impact those translations had, also because they were probably quite old, and I know that there's a lot of semantics that like plays behind translation. So maybe like I'll read it back and be like, oh, this is kind of a problematic translation potentially, or like there's a lot of nuance that was lost. Yeah, I read The Vegetarian last summer in Korean, and I'd like to read it again in English maybe to see like if it feels any different. That was something I've been meaning to do for a while, and then I haven't done it yet, but maybe I will soon.
Guys, I like can only read in English. Like I can't read in Chinese. Well, I could if I really tried, I think, but it would be pretty bad. I think I'm probably even better at reading in French than I am in Mandarin.
It's a very like complex written language, isn't it? Like
I think because there's literally no alphabet. Like there are similar like suffixes and stuff that are repeated, but it doesn't mean that you know what that word is in a way. But also it's like sometimes I recognize a word, but I wouldn't know how to pronounce it. I just kind of know what it means. So yeah, but like Chinese literature, I think when I was younger, I used to read a lot more Chinese literature in class and stuff. And I think the writing style of those are very different to like classic English literature, just because it's very like, I don't know how to describe it, but they're very whimsical in a way. It's like based on like different mythologies. What's the word? Is that right? Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why that sounds like a wrong word. Anyway, there are different like mythologies, and you follow different like beliefs, I guess. And so the writing style, like it's like I think it's a bit like Chinese poetry in a way, which is quite popular back in the days. And then that's like the type of text I would study and learn. And a lot of like Chinese stories and stuff were spoken word as well, like the whole Mid-Autumn Festival story. I don't know if anyone knows. Or like just like what it is, and like the lady and the bunny and the moon, and like there's a lot of lore, I think. Yeah.
No, yeah. When you talk about like not knowing how to pronounce the word, because the character could have like a completely different like pronunciation, right? Depending on what next character is, right? So whenever I ask you, because I do Chinese, whenever I ask you, oh, how do you say this and this? You give me the character, but I'm like, okay, that's great, thank you. But I have no idea how to retype that on the keyboard, because there's no, like, I can't guess how you pronounce it, and I can't guess how you put it into pinyin so that I can use it on the keyboard. So whenever I ask like you or like another Chinese friend, how do I use this? Like how do I say this in Chinese? And you give me the character. I'm like, wow, thank you. That is so useful. But yeah,
I think it's an interesting thing where like, for example, with French or English, since it is like the alphabet and you kind of know how each word is usually pronounced, you can, even if you don't know what the word is, you can kind of attempt to pronounce it. But with like Mandarin, if you don't know that word, like there's no way you can kind of make it up, because it could literally be anything.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, with like meaning making as well, like I feel like if you know like a lot of like I mean, this is like my like interest in like the formation of words and stuff, but like if you know certain prefixes or suffixes, like you can work out what a word might mean, and like you have to sometimes think about like splitting it into different parts and then like thinking what other words do I know with this bit in it, and then you can work out maybe what kind of area it is. But I guess if there's none of that.
I mean, there is in a sense, like there's like one of the, I don't know, suffix, prefix, it's like 3 dots, and it's usually anything to do with like water or like
or like the radical.
Yeah, the radical.
Yeah.
It's like always something to do with water or like something liquid. And then there's also one that's like the walk, word for walking. So it's always something to do with movement of some sort. So you can guess like the category, I think, but because I mean Chinese characters were used to be art. Like they're all meant to be art. So yeah, it is, I think, very interesting. Yeah. But I would say it's really hard to learn. But it's also like, I think with any, like the reading of any language, if you know a good amount of words in a sentence, like you said, you can kind of figure out the meaning based from context of the amount of words that you know. You just kind of fill in the blanks, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, because my Chinese teacher is always like, oh, so to remember how to write this character, you can see there's a radical for grass. And so for tea, which is like cha, right? You have like the grass radical, and then you have, was it like the person radical? I don't know, like.
Person is not.
Sorry, what's radical? What does that mean?
Radical is like, well, you know, like there's a person radical, which is like, I don't know.
Like,
I'm drawing it in the air,
it's
but
like
no one can see it.
A letter kind of thing.
Okay.
It's
like a base.
Yeah, it's because like Chinese characters are usually built up of different radicals, and it's like, in a way, if you think about it, it's like different letters.
It's kind of like syllables.
I've always found it cool because it builds like a scene essentially.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, I don't know if I'm recalling it right, but for like house, for example, like there's a roof and there's a person. Like those are all like, I don't know if they're called like radicals, but like there are elements that kind of create.
Yeah, some of them
this
visually
word.
match the word. Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like wood kind of looks like a tree, I think.
Oh yeah, and then like that radical is in like cup and like table, right?
Yeah. And like the water one, like I said, it looks like 3 water splashes basically.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It's very interesting.
But I mean, I have like a friend who like grew up with Mandarin as her first language, and she still says like, if you've learnt it for like 50 years, you're still not gonna know even half of like the characters. Like, there's just infinite words and like, you know.
It's honestly so impressive, people that can, are fluent in it, in terms of like reading and writing it.
I was also just gonna say about translation, like I know this woman who's like one of my mum's friends who's like a full-time translator, like that's her thing, and I thought that meant like like in like interviews and stuff or like in whatever, but it's like she like rewrites texts,
Really
and like I thought that would just be like to be able to do that as a job you just need to know lots of languages, but it's not just that, like you have to be able to do so much research and like knowing like the context, you have to know the context that the book was written in and like the period of time that it was surrounding, and like you have to know about the author themselves to try and like step into their shoes, but like from a, you know, and you have to be so unbiased like about whatever, you know. It's a difficult thing to do for sure.
I did a bit of translating when I was doing my play.
Oh yeah.
Because it's
Charis did a play, guys.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Barghava.
But yeah, because it's originally written in Norwegian, and then we took a very early we took a very early English translation of it. So not only was like the metaphors in the English language that they used in the translated version quite old English, they also kept a lot of Norwegian words that like couldn't be translated basically into English. So then we had to sort of reconfigure all that. So we had to modernize the language a lot. And there are so many like metaphors I had to put into Google and was like, what does this mean? To try and like make it make sense to an audience now. And then I think we removed quite a few of the Norwegian words just because like no one would have understood what it meant in this context. And also there was no like Cantonese or English equivalent to it, but like it worked well without it as well. And then on top of that we just added a few like Cantonese phrases here and there, which I felt was a bit easier just because we didn't honestly translate that much because of like the cast and stuff. But yeah, there are some interchangeable things like names that you call someone, like instead of calling them like aunt, you just say the Cantonese equivalent. But yeah, I think translating is definitely like, to properly translate something, you need to put in like a lot of research and work into. Yeah.
And whenever I have read anything that's translated, I'm always like, this isn't the real thing, you know. Like, I'm constantly aware of the fact that it's like, you know, like that it's like a second person perspective of it, you know.
And sorry, similarly, to reflect like the context that you mentioned, like researching the context, it's like in the original play it was set still in autumn, but it was supposed to be like hot and warm, but then we in the context that we reset it in, it was constantly typhooning, so we changed it to like a lot of lines talking about weather to like, it's been raining, it's really windy, and
That's so interesting.
I mean, I notice, like, you know, going back to subtitles, like, have you ever watched something where the subtitle is different than the dub?
Yes.
And like things are like,
Yes.
and it's so interesting how that works, and like sometimes things are left out of the dub that it's still included in the subtitles, and you're like, oh my god, like what is happening?
But even like there's, for example, like for our film module, we were watching this film called A Fantastic Woman, and it's about this trans woman's experience like after her lover dies, and there's these like intricacies of language, especially with like gendered languages, where those things are just lost in the English translation and the subtitles. You just wouldn't, as an English speaker, like, the only reason I can slightly pick up on those things is because I did Spanish GCSE, like, it sounds really stupid, but it's like, those things that are so complicated would just be missed if you were just reading the subtitles. And I think that goes for like so many different films.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to talk about Hyein, but I know that in like K-dramas, like you know how like there are like titles for like people who are older than you, or like I don't know, like people who are like have seniority over you, and like in the subtitles, at least like in English, they don't like show that. So a lot of the times when a character addresses an older character and with it like using a title, like in Korean, you know, oh, that person's older than them or they have seniority, but then in the title it's just like, oh, name, you know.
That's the same in that film that I was just talking about as well. There are those like formality things where it's like referencing where, like, for example, the character's talking to the ex-wife and she starts talking in a formal way instead of like more of an informal way, like based on like hierarchy and stuff.
Actually, I have a question to Hyein. You know the word like moshiso?
Moshiso?
Yeah. Does it mean cool or does it mean like attractive?
It's a dimensional word, not a world. What? It's like, it depends. Because you can say it, because it's like, you know, it's all a bit like ambiguous. Like, you can say it in a tone that can be like, you know, a bit of a euphemistic kind of thing. It does mean cool, like in the most, like, I guess, direct sense. But then I guess it can be like cool attractive, or like cool isn't like just cool, or like,
because when we were watching like a show, they kept, every time I'd hear that word, they kept translating it in English to, oh, they're so hot, and I was like,
I don't think that's
I
don't know if that's like,
because then I was like, I don't think that's correct.
But I guess it's kind of the same, like if you find someone cool and it like it's kind of implied that you find them attractive in English.
But in that case, I think it would have been best to just do it directly, because then it's like, that's again like reading into attentions, which might be obvious, but still it's like,
I feel like cool and hot implies very different things.
No, I mean, like, you're not necessarily attracted to them, like, I don't know, romantically or like, you know, like sexually, just like you're attracted to them as a person. So if you say, oh, they're like, if you translated it to, oh, they're attractive, it's not like necessarily wrong in English, you know, it's just like a different wording and it implies something else, you know, like if you in English, oh, they're attractive, you're implying like, I don't know, visually you're like attracted to them, but then when you say, oh, they're cool, maybe you're just saying, oh, like, I don't know, you know what I mean.
It's also the etymology of it, which I'm not entirely sure about, but like 멋있다, if you break it down, 멋 is like style. So 멋 can be about like aesthetics as well. So and 있다 is like to have. So it's like they have style, like that kind of cool. But then it can be like obviously like aesthetics or like style or like this vibe can be like a very subjective thing. So it's like, yeah, I guess the ways of interpreting things.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
The last thing I watched that I remember being like this translation was Squid Game, where again I think it was to do with formalities and stuff were lost, but there was a few different things. I think there maybe was also something to do with the trans character.
Oh yeah, they called her Onni, which is like older sister, but they didn't like translate it as that. But I found it like really symbolic that there were some characters who like actually identified her as the gender that she expressed herself. But yeah,
God, I could not watch Squid Game again.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how in Squid Game the last season all the English speakers spoke such robotic English?
Oh
It was
yeah,
so weird.
Yeah. No,
Like,
it's
I don't
like
remember that.
I never saw the
I
second
didn't
season.
finish. I don't think I ever finished.
No, they
the
had,
second
It's
like-
really hard to finish. Like,
Oh.
also every episode is like an hour and a half.
That's-
Like it's
yeah.
it's like every episode is a whole film.
Yeah. No, it was so weird because like the Korean stuff is like all nice, smooth and normal, and then the English speakers would come in and they'd be like, and so, wow, that was such a great
no, but
game.
for only like season
Oh,
2.
is it like the extras?
Yeah, like
Oh,
the
I
English
see.
Oh,
extras.
Yeah, I
No,
was
but it
like,
was also like the VIPs, you know,
Yeah,
the
they're
way
supposed
they
to be, like,
spoke.
Yeah,
Bullshit,
that
like-
in the third season they were so poorly written.
It
Like,
was- it was
I don't know
so
if then maybe that
bad.
was the translation. I don't know, but it was like they were like, I can't wait to watch these
Yeah.
suckers
Yeah.
play. Like it
Yeah.
was like,
And
what
then
are
they
you
would
saying?
they would say it exactly in that tone of like nothing.
Yeah.
So it was so interesting how like they portrayed. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's hard to. Yeah.
And then they had Kate Blanchett in the end. So I mean.
Oh,
Yeah, that was so.
I actually did not know. I think I knew about it, but I didn't know about it until
Mm.
today. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And I was like, is that? So
Well,
great.
that's how other do.
Yeah.
I also remember watching Whisper of the Heart.
Oh.
Do you know that?
Is that the
film?
Ghibli film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I know.
It's a good one, but dubbed, it is so
Don't watch Ghibli
ridiculous.
films dubbed
I was
ever.
like,
I-
I've only ever watched
dubbed.
I've only ever watched them subtitled, but for some
Yeah,
reason
I
this
was
one I
like,
watched
don't
it
watch
dubbed.
anything dubbed
Yeah, I
ever.
don't think I can see anything dubbed.
I used to
ever.
watch
I was-
everything dubbed because that's what you're presented with
Yeah,
like when
yeah.
you're a kid, and then you like you watch the subbed version and you're like, this is so
Actually, yeah, that would
so
be
much better.
hypocritical of me because I watched a lot of things dubbed in Korean, and for me, like that's like the default for some films
No, yeah.
specifically.
I was told to watch Howl's Moving Castle dubbed. Just because they said Howl's voiced in the English
It's
dub.
so bad.
No, they said like.
It's Christian Bale.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
I didn't know that.
What was it? Wasn't Robert Pattinson in one recently?
Yeah,
What?
Boy in the Heron.
Boy in the Heron. That's it.
Oh, really?
Sorry, that just brought like
In
my
Ariadne, the boy is like voiced by Tom Holland in the UK dub, and like Christian Bale is Hal in the I assume UK dub. Could be American.
Interesting.
Part of I remember why I brought
Yeah,
this
sorry.
up. Sorry, I just had to search it on Reddit. So the reason it was like so poorly translated was because part of the plot of Whisper of the Heart is the main character trying to translate the song Country Roads
Oh wow.
into Korean.
No, what?
Sorry, into Japanese. Sorry, just
I
not the
was like
same
really
language.
confused for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, oh,
Interesting.
okay.
Sorry, it's because we were just talking about Korean. And in the film, I remember being like, why does he keep singing this song? Like, it was so weird.
Yeah.
And they would like change one of the lyrics every time. But I was watching it with my friend, and we were like, I really don't get the point of this.
I just don't understand why they need to dub those films.
Yeah.
Like, what is the
I
what's
mean,
the
I guess for
Mm.
children who can't really,
yeah.
you know.
But I feel like as a child, I could read.
Yeah.
could definitely
and-
read.
No,
I
and
I know
watch.
people who like think it's easier to watch things dubbed than like read subtitles.
I also just find it so jarring when their mouths don't match
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
that
So
is
I would
weird.
much prefer hearing it. And I remember like when I first played Squid Game, like you said, like it automatically dubbed it for me, and for the first like 10 minutes I was genuinely so confused.
Wait,
I was
for
like,
Squid
what?
Game?
Yeah, because I was like, what am I watching right now? And then I realized they dubbed it, so I had to fix it and then watch it normally. But yeah, I had this like weird situation where I was in Hong Kong and I was watching a Chinese film, but it was like with Jackie Chan, so he obviously can speak Cantonese, but the whole film I was so confused because their mouths weren't matching what I could hear. And then I realized afterwards that they'd put Cantonese dub over Mandarin speech, like they were acting and speaking in Mandarin, but then they put a Cantonese dub over it, and that's why the entire film it was like so mismatched. And I was just so confused because I was like, most people living in Hong Kong
is able to understand Mandarin anyway, so I didn't really understand the point of dubbing it.
I mean, maybe it's because Cantonese is like a dying language, or like,
But like,
like there are less Cantonese speakers than Mandarin speakers, so they're trying to revive the language through that. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that would have done anything, considering like
I don't know.
there is like Cantonese like film and stuff anyways. So I don't really understand why they had. Anyways, I was just so jarring the entire. Like, it was a great film. I was just really I was just really distracted by the fact that it wasn't matching up with their words, and then I realized afterwards, because they obviously didn't dub the bloopers, that they were speaking in Mandarin the whole time, and I was like, oh, well.
I've only ever seen Suicide Squad in French, like dubbed in French with English
That's
subtitles.
such an interesting
Same with Moana.
situation.
I've never
We-
seen Moana in English or in French.
We had this thing in year 9 in my German class where the teacher put on a film that was like dubbed in. It was an English film, but it was dubbed into German, and it got like 5 minutes in, and the character started having sex.
Oh no!
he was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, this isn't appropriate," and then we just like did something else for the whole lesson.
Oh my god.
That's so funny.
He like didn't have a backup plan. He, like he came in with a DVD and a dream. Like,
Oh my god.
yeah.
That's so funny.
No, but what Hyein was saying about watching something first in like the dub language, because I watched as a kid Miraculous Ladybug in Italian first.
Interesting.
So, and then I watched the English version. I was like, why do they sound like even though, no, I'm pretty sure the original is French.
Yeah.
So like the French version sounded okay.
So you've
But-
watched Miraculous 3 times?
Yeah. Well, it's because at my grandma's house there'd only be like TV, and then on the TV there was like Italian it was cartoons dubbed in Italian, you know. But so every time I'd see Miraculous in like English or anything other than Italian, I'd be like, why do they sound like that? Like that's not how they're supposed to sound. So yeah, because I never voluntarily watched Miraculous outside of being in Italy. So whenever I heard it like on YouTube, for example, I'd be like, oh, that should not sound like that.
Yeah, it's interesting how like we associate certain things that we've watched or read with specific like tones of voice or character when someone else could interpret, like if they've watched it in a different language or something, they would.
That's so true. The
interpret
voice affects how you view that character.
that really differently.
I remember there was this isn't really related at all, but I remember there was this big like I'm like a huge Simpsons fan, like I think I've mentioned that, and I'm like low-key part of the fandom. And they a few years ago changed a couple of the voice actors that were white people playing people of colour. So it was like Dr. Hibbert, who's this doctor who like he says these that like, you've been diagnosed with blah blah blah, and he like laughs after he said everything. That's his catchphrase, just laughing. And then like Apu, who's like this like sales he works in the Quickie Mart, which is like this like shop, and there was such like a backlash to like them changing the voice actors, and I was
what you thought about.
I was like I was fighting in YouTube comments about this because I was like, do you not think it's in like, regardless of like the morality of it, do you not think it's interesting to like have a new take on this on this character,
especially
you know?
for a show that's been so long running? I feel like
I
they're
feel like any
allowed-
change would be good. Like it's the same thing for 37 seasons. Like, but yeah, not even an exaggeration. I think they may be at 39 now.
Oh my god.
But yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Anything more about literature?
I had stuff that I actually was thinking about and then I've completely lost
I was gonna say, with like Indian literature, when I think of like famous Indian authors, to be fair, this is what I think of, but they've all written in English. So I don't feel like I do feel like I'm missing out a bit on that, but that's more on me than like the language itself. But yeah, it's just interesting because I feel like at least the contemporary, more recent famous authors are all just writing in English anyway, so it's like it's actually pretty accessible in terms of like for like an English speaker like me. But yeah, I like, it's weird to think about like, I don't know, there's just not, I mean, besides like famous old texts, like specifically often like religious or like, I don't know, historical myths, stuff like that, I cannot think of that many like books or like literature that's not that's like in like Hindi or Sanskrit or any other like Indian language, which is it's a bit.
Yeah, true.
I was gonna say we didn't read any at school, and then I was like, well, yeah, duh. 'Cause like you went to an English school.
No, but
thing.
to be fair, I barely like as a kid I would read a few like Indian authors that thankfully my mom would just give me the books. But like even then it was like not that much, and I think I very quickly romanticized the idea of like English literature and like classics and like British authors, and I unfortunately don't think I ever I lost my reading abilities very soon after that, so
Sana's illiterate.
What?
Sana's illiterate.
anyway.
That's been one of my, I think, recent goals, is trying to like bridge that gap, because when I was younger I'd read the traditional Korean like fairy tales, I don't even know, like stories. I wouldn't say fairy tales necessarily, stories. And then recently I'd asked like my aunt, for example, to recommend me a book, like The Vegetarian I'd read because of like the recent Nobel Prize winning novel, which I wanted to read, but then I figured, okay, let's like start reading around it before I got to it. But then so like there's like the contemporary side, but there's like a massive gap in the middle where it's like, you know, poetry from like the colonial era, when sort of like Korea was colonized by Japan, or like before that, after that, in between, like there's like a massive like gap. So I wanted to start more like reading more about like more poetry or like novels or like just stuff in between.
I do think with like The Vegetarian and like Butter, and like there's been a lot of like spotlight on international authors, or like I don't know, which is nice, I guess. But sorry, it's become a habit. Anyways,
I think it's interesting in terms of like there are a lot of like contemporary translations of like Korean, and like I would say, well, maybe it's what I'm looking for, but like Korean or Japanese literature, whereas
but it's
like
also in the mainstream right now.
Yeah,
I think
it's true.
Like even with poetry and stuff, like I don't know, I see it, I think, a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's also,
But again, is that is that like a genuine appreciation, or is that this like Western literature's obsession with like the like trendy othering of like, you know, like that's yellow face, like I feel like that's kind of what that was touching on. I don't know.
Yeah, but you would never
I mean,
see
either
like
way.
a popular like novel in Hindi translated into English. Like I haven't personally.
But
seen
that's
that.
the thing. A lot of the popular like Indian novels are just in English. Like a lot of the most famous Indian authors are like, there's a lot of Indian American authors that are quite famous, and then even like Indian authors who've moved abroad and lived abroad, and it's just English books. And
It's really interesting.
There was this one book we read last year in writing that was about like a Chinese woman who moved to the UK, and then she was like writing.
Concise Chinese English dictionary.
What's it called?
A concise Chinese
Yes.
English dictionary for lovers.
Yeah.
I remember I read this and
That
I was
was
like,
really good.
whoa. And I still remember it to this day, because I was like, this is like so interesting, because it was about like, her like having to, you know, obviously learn English and communicate with people in English when Chinese was her first language. And we've been obviously thinking about things like writing in vernacular and stuff, and how to translate the sort of ways that different people speak the same language when they come from different backgrounds, and how they learn, and sort of what words they pick up on and stuff.
Have any of you like sorry, you were going to say something before, right?
I've completely forgotten.
Oh
but
my God, I'm so
honestly, no,
sorry.
it's okay.
Have any of you tried to like do any creative writing in other languages before?
I don't think I could.
Do you find that like a different experience? Well, obviously, 'cause it's a different language.
My grammar's very limited, and so is my vocabulary. But I do feel like maybe not like full, like full short stories. Like I might try in English, but like short sentences. I think it's interesting because it's just like maybe it's a very like personal thing, but I feel like it just feels different, like the texture of it. Also because I think I was
The
telling
texture, that's such a good word, yeah.
I think I was telling Sanaa this recently. I felt a lot of Korean sort of like adjectives or descriptors for sound are quite onomatopoeic. I felt, as opposed to maybe English, which is not at least to me it doesn't necessarily feel that way. I was trying to like find ways to describe like a coins in a cup. And like in English there's like loads of ways to describe it. So I was like thinking of like clinking or like whatever. But then there's like stuff like tar or like tararuk, like these kind of words which are like I don't know, I don't really feel like that would make sense if I like, let's say, anglicized it, or like I don't know if there's an equivalent. So I was just thinking about like how there's differences. So yeah, I feel I find it obviously a bit hard because like I'm not as like fluent, but I'm glad I can still like write and stuff. I do want to try more.
And I feel like sometimes if you have like a more limited selection of like words or anything or like ideas, like sometimes it's easier because it's like, you know, like if you have every colour and every canvas is too much, but like if you have it restricted, you know. I was actually thinking like it was actually helping me like find ways around it, like if I do want to capture like the same sort of like sense in English, like I could do it on like a word level where the word itself maybe like reminds, like as opposed to using like a descriptor. And like I do think it encouraged me to like think more out of the box and like find different ways around it, which was like, that was nice.
No, it's actually like really bad because, well, in my like writing that I did recently, I included some speech that was like Cantonese, then I translated it to English. But obviously Cantonese is more as like a dialect, it's a spoken language rather than a written language in a way. So I literally had to speak into Google Translate and like copy the text that it gave me because I didn't know what the word was, because usually when I type in Chinese I think about it in Mandarin and I type it like that, but with Cantonese obviously like some of the words are different to what the Mandarin translation would be, so I didn't know what the word was, so I had to like I couldn't think of it on my own, which is kind of bad. But yeah, I think it's because when you learn Cantonese you just kind of pick it up from people around you speaking it, rather than Mandarin, which is like you learn the characters and you learn the word, and yeah, it's interesting.
Look, here disclaimer, I did look it up. I feel like I just made the second, like some of the sounds some of the words I was thinking of in my head, but either way,
legit to me.
No, but
I feel like there's like a different way of
some languages are so much more sensory than English. Like English is quite often feels quite detached from the like meaning of the words.
It's like Welsh and puppety pig.
The
microwave.
Well, that's because many like European English languages are derived from Latin and like Roman, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry guys, I don't know if you can hear my stomach. But like, it
No,
keeps
I actually
moving.
couldn't.
It might be mine.
No, it's fine. I can feel it as well.
It'll be all
I
of us
wouldn't be
by the end.
surprised.
No, but yeah, in school I used to be forced to write in French, and my dad made an interesting observation, which was like English prioritizes short, concise sentences, whereas French is like, it's very like, they like their really long sentences. Like they love their five line long sentence with 5 clauses and 3 different like ways to, you know, like connect every clause. So whenever I'd write in French, I feel like I wrote in French, but I wrote it in the English way. So like my sentences would have like maximum like 3 clauses, whereas like the books that I was reading, I'd have like, no, because like, okay, I studied this book called Manon Lescaut, and tell me why, like the first page there's one sentence which spans like at least 7 lines long. And it's like it's like so many connectors, and it's like if you zone out for like 2 words, you have no idea what's going on in the sentence. So I genuinely had to like put 200% of my brain power in reading that book for school. But yeah, just reminds me of that.
French people also learn to write in cursive. Sorry.
Oh
not
yeah,
the point, but like
indeed.
I like you don't really understand what cursive
neither
is.
do I.
Is it just all the loops?
Well,
It's
it's
like
like
connect-
connected.
yeah.
Connected.
Oh,
You don't
it's
need to like
okay.
take your
Yeah.
pen off the page.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of
That's
naturally do
basically
that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm writing in cursive.
No, because like I remember we had like cursive lessons all the
Yeah,
time.
I had to get a
Oh, I
pen
guess we did
license,
too,
and
but we
to
just
do
never.
that I needed
we
to
write
write
pen
as if we went to school
Yeah.
together.
pen license. Have you never had
Freddie
a
was like, "Oh my
pen
God."
license?
I've never heard
Have you
of
guys
a pen
have
license
you guys
in my
have
life.
had
I
like
have
pen
pen
licenses,
license.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had like I had handwriting lessons.
Yeah.
And we would have to learn to join them, but we never called it
Yeah.
cursive. Like, it was just a
Oh.
thing.
No, we had like cursive like exercise, like a little book for it.
We also
whatever.
had-
And then if we wrote well enough in it, we could get like a pen license
Oh,
where we
yeah.
can
We
write
got
in
that.
pen and not pencil.
But did you
Oh.
guys have the like barrel red
Yes.
black fine liners?
I
that was
didn't
that was
those,
my
but
thing.
Sometimes they had
Yeah.
blue.
No, I remember I would
Yeah.
write
Yes,
W,
they
but that's
did,
not
and you were really
cursive
special
enough.
if you
And
got
I was like, it's just a W.
Mine was
No.
always blue. I
No,
think.
they'd force like in the French schools, they force you to buy a fountain pen.
We had that as well.
Yeah,
in secondary
right?
school.
Yeah.
had that as
And
well.
like you have to like the first like you're not taught
Well, the
like
school here.
you're not
actually.
taught cursive, you're taught how to write, and how to write is in cursive.
Ah.
So whenever I wrote, people were like, "Oh my god, it's in cursive." I'm like, "What's cursive?" Like I'm just writing, you know. And then I'm actually surprised there's some people that don't know how to read cursive, and I'm like,
My s-
"Whoa."
lots of
You know.
people, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm actually surprised because obviously I grew up reading cursive like everywhere.
Yeah.
So whenever I talk to people like in British schools or like American schools, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I can't read. Like I find it hard to read cursive." I'm always surprised. I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting that we were taught differently," you know.
Yeah. Another thing I realized is that not everyone was given typing lessons.
We weren't.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
my school was on it. Like,
I
all my
had
schools-
typing
Yeah.
lessons for like 2 hours every single
Oh, not
Friday,
that long.
maybe.
Really?
No, it was,
Wow.
it was like
Hours.
it was like a proper like it was a subject.
wow.
Like it was computing lessons.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
had to
Oh,
yeah,
we
no,
had
that's
computing.
how
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
That was
computing
like-
lessons, but it wasn't like computer science.
That's
it
why
was
you
like
guys type at like 100 words per minute.
no,
like,
because you're
so-
taught that you have to
Yeah,
put your
exactly.
hand in like
Oh,
the
yeah.
positions to make
Yeah,
sure.
but
to
I
get-
taught that myself.
Oh
I
no,
never
I had
really-
lessons. Like I was
I'm
forced
such a
to.
slow typer.
I'm so
I was
sorry.
I
forced
beat-
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like not that I'm judging you guys, but I never realized that not everyone had typing
No,
lessons.
me
and then I
too,
see
yeah.
how people type sometimes, and I'm like, why are you typing like that?
Mm.
'Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
were you not taught to type? You know,
Taught.
taught. No, actually, I realized when I
When
talk in performance class, since I talked to Fredi and Amelie a lot, I started code switching a lot in performance because I'm
Really?
talking
Fair enough.
because I'm talking
my
to Fredi and
God.
Amelie.
Baby, you don't have to cook.
Oh my god!
God.
Sorry, that really
Sorry, I
scared.
didn't mean to grab
No,
your
no,
foot.
no, it wasn't that. But yeah, typing lessons is something that I realized
So true. Like
when I'm moving to the UK.
when I think it must have been so like Dubai. So maybe like 7 or 8. Like since then, like my school's always made us do like games, and my dad
yeah.
forced me and my sister to learn how to type in Korean.
Oh.
Which is why now I've memorized the Korean keyboard. Like I can do it without. I mean, my current laptop has it, but like yeah, I was like, and I learned PowerPoint. I think when I was like 9 or 10 as well. It's just a part of like computer science for us.
That's the only thing we learned. We were
I
like,
got
make a
really
PowerPoint.
competitive with like the speed of typing as well because they made it they had a touch typing competition.
Mm.
Ooh, that's
Oh.
fun. I think we
Yeah,
might
Yeah,
have
that
that
was in school, and I was like, well, I'm gonna win.
No, I
and
think
was
like yeah, it's a weird thing where like I think when I was doing those lessons, I was like, what is the point of this? But then meeting other people who haven't had those lessons, I'm then like, oh, and now I see what the point of that was. You know, because I'm like, oh, this is like no, as in like as
She's
in
just saying
no,
Meeting
no,
idiots like
Yeah.
no,
Catching
no, as in
Yeah, I
no,
get it.
right?
as in
You
like
should see the computers we were working with
Yeah,
in like
so true.
primary. I was
No,
so
I
or
just
lack
love-
thereof.
no, I just mean as in like
Yeah.
I like this actually has benefited me in the way that I type,
Mm.
and yeah.
Were your assignments like a lot in like?
No, we would
typed?
have to write.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
all of our assignments
No,
were
it was just
written.
like specifically
had-
during those
Oh,
blocked
yeah.
out periods.
That's so
We would
Interesting.
type.
Yeah,
No,
but I
That's
just
so
have
interesting.
specifically computing lessons where we didn't have to learn to type, but then like all our other subjects were notebook, like pen and
Definitely,
paper
definitely,
notebook.
Do you guys know the story of the QWERTY keyboard?
QWERTY.
What is the
Yeah.
story?
I think this might be completely incorrect, but I'm pretty sure it was that when typewriters were first invented, it was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and people were typing too quickly that they kept
yeah.
breaking their typewriters. And it was like a massive thing and like this massive feedback to the typewriter companies. So they completely randomized the order and ended up with the QWERTY keyboard so that
It was
people
meant to
had to
slow
slow
them,
down so
yeah.
that people had to think more about where the letters were. And then by the time like that became more familiar, like they'd like they were faster working anyway, so like it wasn't an issue anymore.
That's
But they just
so
kept QWERTY because
interesting.
that's what people became used to.
Or
And now if you
challenge
had an
people's dexterity.
yeah.
more,
So now if you had an ABC keyboard, you'd be like, wait, hang on.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
we're used
I'd
to
be like
QWERTY.
A, B, C.
Yeah.
So that's me
Yeah.
every time I switch to the French
Yeah,
keyboard.
I was
That was
gonna
by
say.
accident because it's like
Oh,
I was say I can never type in the French keyboard because I
French
just
keyboard.
put in the wrong.
I put Q all the
Yeah.
time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, stop.
No, it's kind of funny. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say when I was in Paris, I had to put in my information
Oh.
like on a thing, and I just kept making mistakes because I
Oh.
didn't realize that I had to
Yeah.
fix it. Yeah.
No, but because like, I keep saying this, but in my school, obviously the keyboards were in French.
Did you know Serena went to a
Did
French
you guys
school?
actually? Did you know that my school's name? No, I'm kidding. No, but
Lycée Français.
so like every time I'd be typing in school, like my brain would have like it would need time to shift to like English to French keyboard. But then at the end of it,
Control Alt Shift.
yeah, no, but like at the end of the day, I'd have like switched. But then when I go back home, I'd be like, oh, that's not where the Q is anymore. You know, like my brain would have to switch again.
Did they have like computers with the French keyboards? in
Yeah,
school?
yeah.
Oh,
It's like
word.
all the keyboard. Well,
that's scary.
yeah,
That's
because there's like a
really
British
scary.
section, so all the keyboards in the British section
That's
were
so
in
funny.
like
No way.
English.
actually.
Yeah, they were in the QWERTY, and then in the
Right.
French section it was AZERTY.
So they had to import
That level,
Yeah.
that level
Like-
of division is actually a
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know if they had that in
insane.
my school because we also had French and British section,
Oh,
but
wow.
I don't know if our keyboards were different.
Oh no, they were very adamant on separating the
Oh.
two. I'm kidding. I don't know,
But
but
we had a lot of French student kids move over to the international section, and then they just obviously knew more French than us, and it was like okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
When we were this is like going back to like something that was said before. I think I was just thinking about because Fredi, you asked about like writing in Korean versus maybe English. There's so much more. I mean, like the syllables are exaggerated, and like that's how people recognize words in English. So like McDonald's, there's an emphasis on like different syllables, and they're like.
I love that that's your example.
It's because
Yeah.
it was like one of the words that my parents like struggled or found confusing because I mean I guess like similarly.
Oh, sorry for making fun of him.
No, it's fine. Like, you didn't know, but like honestly it's fine. But it's just like one of the things. But it's like
that chocolate factory.
it's like I guess similar in Japanese as well. It's like flat, like it's just like straight syllables. There's no like emphasis on like the first half or the second half of the word, like. And so there's a different like feeling when I read in Korean as well, like versus English, and also when I speak, it feels sometimes a bit more flat. But then again, like because of the words, like differences in like texture again, like I was just thinking about that as well.
And it's also like, I mean, our words are all very like clipped, and like it's interesting that I feel like there's kind of like the idea of like the British personality is quite like a potentially quite blunt or like quite like dry and sarcastic, and like I feel like it's interesting how language influences personality and vice versa. Like,
Yeah, I was saying to Fredi like today about lang.
Oh, yeah.
How the British
Oh.
say lang, and when I learnt this, I was really confused because in Cantonese, when you say "ne ho lang," you are complimenting them. It's like saying you're really pretty, but obviously,
Oh,
In-
it's a different type.
yeah,
it's a
when you say
Yeah.
lang, it's like
Lang.
different connotations to that.
You're bare lang.
Yeah, so then, like,
Still.
I found that weird. I don't think it is from Cantonese, but it's weird that in Cantonese the word is
Yeah,
actually
that is
a compliment.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the day my sister used it, she's like 5 years old. 5 years old. She's 5 years younger than me.
Okay.
Not 5 years old. The day my sister used that, I was like, some part of me mourns. like her vocabulary. It's like, there's no way she just said.
Oh, I'm so
like,
sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, thank you. It was really a hard time for me. No, but I was genuinely so shocked. It's like, why is she speaking like that? Like, first of all, she goes to a French school. Why is she trying to be like, yeah, why is she saying these words? Anyway, but yeah, that's all. No, but about like
Your sister's gonna listen to this
yeah,
podcast.
I'll make sure she listens to this exact.
We'll timestamp it in the description.
Yeah. For Serena's sister. No, but for like, was it cadence and like speaking in languages, like in was it? I don't even know. Like in French, they was it not accentuate? They, you know, ding the last bit of the sentence, whereas emphasize the last bit of the sentence. Whereas in English, it's very like dependent on what you're stressing. So whenever actually my English
there's not much
teacher,
of a pattern really.
Yeah.
Even yeah.
My English teacher was making this like observation when she was talking to like my classmates, and she was like, you know, it's interesting. You can tell when it's a French person speaking English, even if they have a perfect British accent, because of where they're stressing their sentence and like, yeah. So I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say also, like, depending on what your first language is, it's really hard for you to then like learn another language. Like, well, depending on the language, it's harder to learn another language and pronounce it well. Like I always say, like, because I grew up internationally and English is my most proficient language, it made it so that I can learn and pronounce European languages more accurately than someone who, for example, has Mandarin as their first language. It's harder for them to then try and learn a European language and pronounce it as accurately because of the different cadences and the different, for example, like Mandarin Chinese obviously is like a tonal language, and there's so many like tones, so it's much harder for them to pronounce, like even like my parents with English words, it's much harder for them to pronounce specific English words correctly because of how inclined they are to the way like Cantonese and Mandarin is pronounced. And like obviously the opposite ways, it's really hard for like an English or a European language speaker to get the exact Chinese tones correct because it just doesn't compute to them. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my like mouth sometimes feels like physically tired when I like speak in Korean after speaking English for a long time, or like vice versa and stuff like that. It's like kind of.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Are you okay? What are you gonna say?
No, just like in terms of, because I'm in level 1 French, I would agree, like my class is mostly like international students, and well actually it's all international students. I'm the only home student, and I would say that like I find it a lot easier to, because it's like a European language, there's so many similarities than they would, but also I guess it's also about like comprehension, like actually understanding the lecturer as well. What he's even saying in English a lot of the time is lost in translation, because it's like a 3-way translation at that point, which is really like quite difficult.
We have like 15-ish minutes left. Do we want to like
Wrap up.
Can I
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
something that
Yes,
I
of course.
found? Basically, it was the book I brought to performance, the like childhood poems and stuff book. And there's this one, I think it's the only one that's translated in the whole book, and it was translated from Japanese, but it's called In My New Clothing, and I just love it. And it's so short. It's just, in my new clothing, I feel so different. I must look like someone else. And I just think that's so like, I just love it. And I was like, I feel like that I must look like someone else could be like, I have to look like someone else, or like, well, I probably look like someone else. Like, it could be both ways. And I was like, I wonder if that nuance was like in the Japanese as well, or if that's like come through in the English.
That's really interesting.
That's my Roman
But, yeah.
Empire, like not being able to like
Yeah.
like feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say, like, I mean, this is the point of like this whole group, that like I feel like in school I don't think we ever read any novels that were like translated from another language. Like, they were always English, or even written by someone from another country. Like, I feel like everything was so English, particularly in literature. Like, I feel like I was exposed to a lot of music and a lot of art, but like
That's true.
literature specifically, I think is so, was, well, for me, was
Which
so,
I think
such a
is
bridge for me.
interesting, because I feel like, because like the written words like transcends like cadence and like accents and like context and like dialects. Like I mean, obviously you can like write dialect and vernacular and all that kind of stuff, but like it carries a lot easier than like, I guess, like spoken words sometimes. So that's interesting.
And like, to be fair, I guess it is because, well, the UK, for example, there are a lot of really great poets and like writers that have come
It's the
from
canon.
yeah.
UK is the canon,
Yeah.
guys.
So
Yeah, yeah.
there's obviously like certain countries, like France, for example, has a lot of painters. So it's like everywhere has its own sort of niche in terms of the arts. But I do agree, it's like you should still be able to like learn about texts from
Yeah, definitely.
other places. But
Yeah.
does everyone want to like go around and share maybe like a piece of literature or something that they?
Well, I've done mine, so.
Yeah.
And it was 4 lines.
I can recommend Love Me Tender. By I will butcher the second name, but it's Constance Debreu, like it's French. But yeah, it's a translation. But I found the original book in French in a charity shop in Paris. So eventually, when I can read French,
nice.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
nice, like a little
Really,
goal.
really
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. We can come back to you.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, she forgot about it. Okay.
No, I didn't realize we were going in a circle.
Oh, I didn't know either until.
we can go in any order.
If you want to go, I
first.
could. Okay. I don't know. Do I have to like recommend a book or just a book?
You have to talk about some piece of literature or writing.
To be fair, I did mention like vegetarian and
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
true.
true.
You've done yours, yeah.
And I read-
You're off the hook.
I read another book last summer. That was a lengthy Korean book as well. Called, I guess, Whale. I think that would be like yeah. I don't know if it would have been
What'd you call me?
translated.
Apparently, kit means whale in Russian. Sorry,
Really?
just to like yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you think Carla's just
Yeah,
going
he
with
just
you?
laughs
Going with you?
every time.
You can confirm at a later time.
Yeah.
But because like
Carl's just
sometimes like also like English, at least for movies, like titles are translated differently, but it's Whale basically.
Mhm.
That was another.
Well, I guess in the French system, the like Shakespeare equivalent is
Oh,
is
Molière.
Molière.
Yeah.
And like every time people are like, oh yeah, Shakespeare, I'm like, what? I mean, I know obviously,
Oh,
but like
who's Shakespeare?
Who? No, like
No,
I've
Phil.
never.
was Shakespeare wrong?
Friend of a friend.
Yeah, I mean, no, because like every time they talk about like his plays and stuff, obviously I know what they're about, but I've never like studied them.
Oh, wow.
So whenever I hear or I'm watching a Shakespeare play, I don't understand what they're saying because like I never like studied the way
No
they
one
spoke.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like when you've studied it, you can get the gist of it, you know.
Sort of.
Sort of,
Sometimes it
right?
depends. It really
So your
depends.
recommendation
I think
So-
I feel like Shakespearean language though, like the performance can really
That's
drive
true.
because like
Yeah.
I never realized up until I went to the Globe and like saw a performance. I was like, you can understand what they're saying,
Yeah.
even though you don't actually
When we
like
saw
necessarily
at like the
understand.
start of first year when we saw
Much Ado About Nothing. Wait, no.
Comedy of Errors, was it?
Taming of the
As you like it.
No.
Girl, I don't know what
Taming of
I feel like it was Comedy of Errors,
I
wasn't it?
think it was comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was.
That's
I don't know.
yeah. That's
Anyway.
when I was first. I think that's the first proper Shakespearean production I've watched, and I was like, oh,
Like
I
you
did
get
a
it,
Shakespeare
Yeah.
even though you
production.
don't.
really?
Yeah, I did 12th night at Edinburgh Fringe.
Oh my
I did
god.
Midsummer Night's Dream at secondary.
I've actually also done.
Hey.
I've also done
Yeah.
Midsummer Night's Dream.
If
I
you
acted
want
in it. I
a
wasn't
specific
produced
one,
in it.
I recommend Le Malade Imaginaire by Molière.
Mm.
In English, is it the I don't remember something the involuntary.
We can put it in our list.
Yeah.
Can I bounce off of that?
Yeah.
I recommend this play called Cabal of Hypocrites, which is like about this. It's very kind of what we were doing today in performance. Like, it's about this cast putting on a Molière production, and or like all the like a lot of it happens in like the backstage,
How
and
meta.
there's like
that.
an audience on the stage that they're performing to backwards sometimes. Like it's so cool. But to read the script is such like a it kind of messes with your head a bit. You're like, what's happening? But yeah, I recommend that.
I think my recommendation would be like the Chinese English dictionary for lovers.
Is it Xiao
I think we were just going to say
Yes,
the Chinese
yes.
English dictionary or something.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
I recommend the Collins dictionary.
yeah.
Specifically,
Great
yeah.
read.
Yeah.
The
Also,
2026
So get into it.
yeah, but I'm gonna use this time to talk about Artifice.
Oh my god.
It's a piece Fredi wrote last year for creative writing, and I genuinely, well, it's called Artifice, but then like the first line of the poem or something was like art, full stop, if ice,
and I was just like mind blown by that.
Thank
And
you.
I thought it was.
Do you want me
such
to?
a
Do you want me to say the
Yeah,
bit?
can you please?
that's-
Yeah, but I
if-
just thought it was it was such a good like play on words, and it made for such an interesting writing.
Just not multicultural.
yeah, I'm sorry. Like, no, but guys, I love poetry.
The line is, if we're apart, I don't wish to be a part of this art. If ice is your ink, your craft is artifice.
Ooh, guys, that's what I'm saying.
I cooked.
Yeah.
Genuinely, Charis has been talking about this for like a
Every
year.
day.
No, this
for
is
a
why
good
she
year
like
now,
thinks I'm a genius. It's
genuinely.
crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, acapella.
But I'm back
Guys.
a cappella. Like she
Yeah.
she
No,
sings my praises.
Guys, you don't understand. You had to be there in the moment when I read that. Like, it's life changing. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to look at my Goodreads, but I got logged out, so I can't even see what I've read.
Real.
But I can only remember, like, as a child, I would read, like, Indian authors called, like, well, there's Satamurthy and Ruskin Bond. They were really good. But they were children's books, mostly, so I don't know if I can recommend that. But
No, you can recommend that. I
well,
love
You
children's
can just
books.
share it. you
I'll
know,
say
yeah.
that I'm gonna read a book called The Namesake by Champa Lerby, which is kind of like, actually, Lahiri? I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I recently saw the film that's based on it, and it's about like a family that moves to the US from India and like generations and how, I don't know, just about them moving. And like it's like it covers a lot of time, but I want to read that, so I'll recommend that as well because I think it'll be good.
Cool. And we'll start posting on our Charis will start posting on our Instagram like our lists of things that we recommend and stuff.
Can I read the poem that Freddie wrote for
Oh,
me in
fuck.
performance?
Yeah, go on.
We basically had to do this activity where like the performer asked a question and then you respond with like a recount of something that happened in your life. And I was telling him about when I last went to a restaurant with my friend, and this poem he wrote for me, like live in like a minute, by the way. This was I love
Freddie's about to explode.
Wait. A small restaurant full, 2 bellies, 2 bowls, 2 souls full, £12 for a lost and found friend. The end. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
The Fredi Peverill original.
Truly, true work of genius. And it's called I Love Pho.
Real.
Yeah. But the one I wrote for Kit was like much
I
worse.
wrote one for you, but I can't remember
Oh
it.
yeah, it was like Fred in his bed,
Bed.
cold. It snows. I don't remember.
Yeah, something about it snow anyway.
We should wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for
Thank you,
listening, guys.
Thank you.
And once again, sail away on the 7 frequencies. Sail away, sail away, sail away.